Hello my friends and welcome back to another video and a new revamped series where we will be looking at in depth all the new characters we could see in the upcoming Amazon Lord of the Rings TV series. In this first installment of this new series, we will be looking at Elrond, the future Lord of Rivendell. The Amazon show will be set in the Second Age, so we will not be looking at Elrond's story in the Third Age or most of the First Age either, and not his entire complete history, but mainly the bits that we will most likely see in the upcoming show. But to provide context for the character of Elrond in the Second Age and the future character that we're going to see in the show, we need to firstly go to the end of the First Age. After the War of Wrath and the defeat of Morgoth, the first Dark Lord, Elrond had an important decision to make, as he was half elven due to his family heritage, which meant he could decide whether to permanently become an elf or a man. Elrond's twin brother Elros chose the life of mortality and became a man and was eventually the first king of Numenor. But Elrond decided to be an elf and belong to the firstborn, unlike his brother. Thus, the decision was made, and into the beginning of the Second Age, Elrond joined the High King Gil-galad in the realm of Lindon, where he greatly advanced and became renowned as a great healer and lawmaster, like we see him in The Lord of the Rings in the late Third Age. Maybe in the show, Elrond could recall this event, as this would have been a massive character moment and really impactful upon him, and maybe Amazon could use this event in many ways. But now let's fully dive into the Second Age. Elrond spent many years at the start of the Second Age under Gil-galad and in Lindon, and presumably during this time he could have picked up on or even been involved in a lot of the politics happening around him during that time period. But there would never be a Second Age story without the involvement of the one and only Annatar, the Lord of Gifts. There is no specific date to when he came, but presumably around some time before the year 1500 of the Second Age, Annatar, who was Sauron in disguise, who also described himself as an emissary of the Valar, asked for entrance into Lindon and to most likely seek an audience with Gil-galad and potentially Elrond. Elrond and Gil-galad, unlike a lot of the elves in the Second Age, did not trust this Annatar Lord of Gifts and denied him entrance into Lindon, and Annatar never returned to Lindon in this specific form again. Then moving time along quickly, and just to quickly summarize, after this all, Annatar befriends Celebrimbor in Originz, teaches them and the great Imodain ring making, and then deceives the elves and forges in secret the One Ring in the year 1600 of the Second Age, and consequently truly revealing that he was Sauron all along, and then eventually declared war on Originz and Middle-earth, which began the War of the Elves and Sauron. Back to Lindon, in 1695 of the Second Age, Elrond saw everything that was happening in Originz and with Sauron, and once war was declared, Gil-galad in the year 1695 of the Second Age sent Elrond to aid Originz in the war. Elrond was the leader of the Lindon host and they marched down right away. However, this force was too small and too late, as Sauron had nearly completely destroyed Originz at this point and had devastated the land and the capital Ost-in-Edhil. After the fall of Originz, Sauron tactically eyed the final main elven stronghold left in the Second Age, which was in fact Lindon, so he sent an army west to the realm, while also leaving a strong force to contain and restrict Elrond and his army as well. Elrond now circled with the mighty Sauron force going up north to Lindon, while another detached army coming up to crush Elrond's own force. He, along with the rest of the Noldor survivors, decided to retreat and fled far north and founded Imladris, also known as Rivendell, in the year 1697 of the Second Age. Throughout the coming months and years, many more refugees joined Elrond's host, Meanwhile, Sauron lay waste to Eriador, and by the year 1700 of the Second Age, Imladris was the only place in Eriador which wasn't under Sauron's control. But still, Sauron besieged the stronghold for many years, until finally Rivendell was liberated by the forces of Gil-galad and Tar-Minastir's forces, as the Númenóreans had come to save Middle-earth. Thus, Sauron was then defeated, and the High King Gil-galad held a council at Imladris and established that Imladris, also known as Rivendell, should be maintained as an elvish stronghold, and Elrond at that same council was appointed as Gil-galad's vice-regent in the realm of Eriador. Also, the ring Vilya was also passed on to him from Gil-galad. This is where we bookmark the year 1700 of the Second Age, as I believe this is the main events we will see in the upcoming show, as we will have to fast forward a few thousand years to the War of the Last Alliance. There is a great possibility, however, that we could still see the events of the War of the Last Alliance in the show, as we still have no clarity over what events we're actually seeing in the show yet. So, fast forward to the years 3429 to 3441 of the Second Age, which was the time period of the War of the Last Alliance. Elrond, now Gil-galad's vice-regent, marched with him into the war, now also as his herald. At the final battle of the war, which was known as the Battle of Dagorlad, Elrond fought and led a host, but unfortunately witnessed the death of his longtime friend and advisor Gil-galad. When Isildur cut the ring from Sauron's hand, Elrond and Círdan the shipwright advised Isildur to destroy the ring, but historically Isildur did not listen. After these events, Elrond returned to Rivendell, which due to the Ring of Air, also known as Vilya, Rivendell prospered for many years. And this is where we end the story of Elrond for the show, aka Lord of the Rings on Prime. So Elrond, whose character name for Lord of the Rings on Prime is currently Beldor, and have the description on screen right now. So we know that Robert Aramayo is playing this Beldor role, which is most likely Elrond, due to the fact that originally Will Poulter was cast for this role but had to leave due to scheduling difficulties, and the resemblance between Will Poulter and Hugo Weaving is massive. So it's safe to say that Elrond will be a massive part of this show. And an interesting thing is that we're going to probably see him at the start of the Second Age, and in fact the start of the show, in Lindon, and of course with Gil-galad. And often with shows and movies, you don't normally see the kings or the rulers, but instead either their lieutenants or the people who live in that realm. As for example, with like big shows, you don't see the kings but maybe their advisors. So it could be a possibility where we do see Gil-galad in the show, but in Lindon we see more of Elrond and his view of everything going on. And of course Elrond is a well-known character, and Amazon can easily use this to be one of the main characters for the show, for all just more the masses and the average fans who do not know too much about Tolkien or Lord of the Rings. So I believe Elrond and Galadriel are those two main characters, but I think Amazon are pushing more to have Galadriel as the main character, but I can also see Elrond having a big part to play as well, as of course he's one of the only characters that really survive until the Third Age as well, so he will of course survive the entirety of the show. So it will be interesting to see maybe if Amazon will maybe experiment with his character and story arc, because you can't have 5 seasons of a show and have the characters stay the same. And an interesting thing is, will Amazon also highlight the choice he had to make at the end of the First Age, as that is a really impactful moment for a character having to decide whether to become an elf for the rest of your life or to become a man. So yes, maybe they will highlight upon that big decision he had to make at the end of the First Age. But that's about it as Elrond as the character in the Second Age. Please let me know in the comments below if you are excited to see him in the show, and if you're excited to see Robert Aramayo playing him as well. But thank you guys for watching, I really appreciate it as always. Please like and subscribe, but until the next video my friends, goodbye.